Start recording here to make sure all my connections are they should be. Okay, I think we are good to go, Lama.
All right, we'll begin by doing refuge prayer. And what I'll do is chant this particular refuge prayer in the English, and then we'll do it in the Tibetan, and then once again in the English. I don't have it to put up for you, so you can just follow my lead. I go for refuge to the three jewels and the three roots, the sources of refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I generate a mind of supreme awakening. Namo Kunchok Sumdang Sawasum Chapne Namla Chapsuchi Drokan Sanjay Lagochir Jamjuk Chokdu Semkedo. I go for refuge to the three jewels and the three roots, the sources of refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I generate a mind of supreme awakening. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here and to contemplate the Dharma. And we should always, turn our mind towards the Dharma. And, we start with the refuge and understanding that we listen to the Dharma for the twofold benefit for ourselves, but for all suffering beings. You may know that one of our teachers in the Karma Kagyu tradition, Khenchen Tronggu Rinpoche, recently passed away on June 4th, 2023. And he was one of the most acclaimed senior teachers in our Tibetan Buddhists in general, and much revered in our precious Karma Kagyu lineage. And it happens that I received both my Getzel vows, the intermediate ordination, and also the Gelong vows, the full ordination of a bhikshu, from Khenchen Tronggu Rinpoche. And we say he entered parinirvana. In Buddhism, parinirvana is a Sanskrit word that is commonly used to refer to nirvana after death, which occurs upon the death of someone who has attained nirvana during their lifetime. It implies a release from the suffering of samsara and the attainment of the ultimate nirvana, enlightenment. So I wanted to add a brief teaching from Rinpoche about how we should listen to the Dharma teachings. And this came from a teaching about medicine Buddha, but it really applies to all teachings. In that particular teaching, Shakyamuni Buddha gave a teaching about the medicine Buddha in Vaisali, a major city in India. And that sutra was known as the Sutra of Medicine Buddha. And it was Manjushri who made the request of the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma. But before he began his discourse, the Buddha enjoins Manjushri to listen well, listen fully, and hold this in your mind. This has particular meaning with respect to how to listen to the Dharma teachings in general. So I thought it would be good to just consider this. Rinpoche explains that the first injunction, listen well, means listen with good motivation. If you have good motivation for listening, then the Dharma you hear will contain in a pure form in your mind. It will be contained in a pure form in your mind. So on the other hand, if you listen with an impure motivation, with attachment or aversion or some other kind of negative qualities, then your mind will become like a container that holds poison. And whatever is poured into it becomes tainted. In the second injunction of the Buddha, listen fully, means listen attentively. You may have a good motivation for listening to the teachings, but you may be distracted. If you do not direct your mind to what is being said, then listening lacks attention and is of very little to no use. So your mind is like a cup turned upside down and nothing can be poured into it. The third injunction is hold in your mind. Hold the Dharma teaching in your mind. Even if you have good motivation and listen well, if you forget what is being taught, then it is lost from your mind. And your mind is like a broken cup, a cup with holes in it. And no matter how much is poured in, it will leak out again. So be diligent in your listening to the Dharma. Listen well, listen fully, and hold these teachings in your mind. In other words, we could say, listen, contemplate, and practice these Dharma teachings to the best of your ability. So that is true when you're listening to any of the teachings being presented. All right, so there were a couple of things that were asked, that I may talk about tonight. One of which was saying that we are coming into the season of giving and Thanksgiving. What might we have to say about that? What would the Buddhist view of that be? Actually, I think, Jackie, did you have a specific question in mind?
It was kind of multi-question, I guess. I did want to hear about just kind of from the Buddhist perspective of the holidays, because many of us were raised with Western either religious or cultural beliefs, and so I was just curious a little bit about the Buddhist take, and then also just talking a little bit about gratitude and showing gratitude even when it's difficult.
Yeah, well, when we talk about the 6 perfections, the first one is generosity, and gratitude, or acceptance, is a kind of has to do with gratitude or generosity. It's the perfect enlightened quality of charity and giving. So being receptive is and generous and accepting, what others give to you in a open-hearted way is certainly good. We'll talk more about that. But Thanksgiving, as it is celebrated in the United States, is not a Buddhist holiday, but however, the principles of gratitude and thankfulness are certainly important in Buddhism, just as they are in many other spiritual philosophical traditions. In Buddhism, in the language is Kantanu, or in Pali, the language of the original Buddhist text, is considered a fundamental moral virtue, as we were saying, and it is a recognition of the benefits that one has received from others. And the practice of gratitude helps to cultivate a sense of connectedness with others, and it serves as an antidote to negative emotions like greed and envy. And so gratitude in Buddhism can be expressed in a number of ways. One can show gratitude towards one's parents for giving life and providing care, towards teachers for imparting knowledge, towards friends for their companionship, and towards all sentient beings for maintaining the balance and harmony, in the universe. Gratitude is also expressed towards the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Buddhist teachings, and the Sangha, the community of practitioners, for providing a path to enlightenment. We have lots of opportunities, to be thankful and to cultivate this feeling of gratitude. But in the context of Thanksgiving, Buddhists would likely view it as an opportunity to practice gratitude and to strengthen their connections with others. They might use this time to reflect on the many ways in which they have benefited from the kindness and generosity of others, and to express their appreciation for these benefits, and use it as a time to cultivate generosity, ourselves, by sharing their resources and time with others. So it is also worth noting that Buddhism teaches mindfulness and being present in the moment. So while Thanksgiving can be a time for reflecting on past benefits, it is also a time to appreciate the present moment and the many blessings that it brings. So we could say that this holiday of Thanksgiving is, although not part of a Buddhist tradition, the principles of gratitude, generosity, and mindfulness that it embodies resonate deeply with Buddhist teachings. So it is certainly a wonderful holiday for us to reflect and have the opportunity to be generous and to show our love and kindness to others. I don't know if that answers your question, Jackie, if you have any other kind of question about that.
No, I just thought it would be a nice thing to talk about. Thank you.
Yes, it certainly is.
Well,
And
we're
yes.
challenged, when we do get together with family and friends and we have, family members that are, that we really should see as our teachers, but but we have difficulty, finding that calmness in the moment with them. What, as practitioners, what's the best way to handle, when we have conflict or when we have tension during holidays?
Well, we're all feeling the stress. And so, if a person is not acting skillfully or this is usually because of the stress they're feeling. And so, to continue to develop our loving kindness and compassion, and to continue to kind of enfold them in the loving kindness and love usually goes a long way to dispel their anxiety and the fear. And no one wants to be rejected. Everyone wants to be happy. But when families come together, there's so many karmic causes and conditions, karmic that has happened over the years. These holidays bring people together, sometimes with people we don't want to be with, or we're not with people we do want to be with. And it can be a very frustrating time. It can be a difficult time financially. We have this gift giving and, even preparing a meal for a lot of people these days can be hundreds of dollars. So, there's so many things that impact individuals around the holidays. But we get to be present in that. We get to see, our responses to things and to people. But our families, if we can extend the olive branch and be kind and not fall back into the old habits that generally happens in families. And sometimes there's no one like a family member that knows how to push your buttons, but you don't have to respond in the same knee-jerk response. This is a wonderful opportunity for growth in the Dharma, because often it evokes particular, again, knee-jerk or these our kleshas, our habitual patterns tend to rise up here. So we have an opportunity to uproot those now. And so we should use the opportunity to do just that instead of falling back into the old patterns. It's an opportunity. It's always an opportunity. When we have some negative emotion, we get to look at it and hopefully not just engage in our habitual patterns of anger or frustration or all the different things that happen in families. It's an opportunity for practice. There's no easy way because we're all different. We all bring our own minds to it and all of the seeds of past karma. So we get to look at that. Sometimes it's painful, but it can be transformed, into wisdom. That's the beauty. Any particular comment or question about that? So how we do it is just before you engage your mouth in some kind of rebuttal or response that may not be skillful, breathe. Just take a moment. If you feel that energy rising in you, irritation or whatever it might be, to just take a moment and breathe. And instead of just, again, knee-jerk response.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll all have the opportunity to practice that.
Lama Losang. Also, a lot of us are being invited to family or loved ones if we have them, or in my case, some of the support groups that I work with, being invited to the Thanksgiving dinners. And of course, there's that large dead bird sitting in the middle of the table, and there are people drinking. It's just, it seems like a lot of alcohol and gorging of food. And is it best sometimes just to say, I appreciate the offer, the invitation to do this, but to avoid putting yourself into a circumstance where there are so many triggers?
Well, hopefully, you don't have to just eat the dead bird. There's probably other things that you can do, but it's certainly a choice that you make. If it feels like it's overwhelmingly intense to deal with that. The drinking, of course, is always optional, but I think people drink because they're anxious. It's a kind of a drug. It's self-medicating. So again, we just see with the eyes of love and compassion that they are suffering as well. And you can pick and choose. You may not get a full meal. There may just be but hopefully there's usually with a Thanksgiving meal, there's lots of vegetables and things. So salads and the like. But yeah. But the Buddha, I'm not suggesting you necessarily eat the meat, but the Buddha said whatever goes on your plate or whatever went in your begging bowl is the offering that they're making to you. And in a way, you don't want to deny them that merit, actually. And so there's lots of ways to look at it. And when we look at meat eating, there's so many aspects to it. And people can get really carried away with it and thinking that, oh, I'm vegetarian and, there's no harm in that. But indeed, when you till that field, there's billions of sentient beings that are killed in that process. When you add the pesticides, insecticides to it, and there's probably more beings killed for that carrot than there have been for a cow. But at any rate, we have to look at this with a certain objectivity and certain compassion as well, and not be too fixed in our ideas about things.
I heard a teaching once about if you did receive meat in your arms full and you eat it, you should still do like X number of Omani Pemi homes while you eat or immediately afterwards.
You're just doing your meal offering, the full meal offering, which has to do with the purification of anything that goes in that bowl. But certainly there's no harm in continuing to do mantra with that aspiration, for any beings that have been sacrificed for this holiday.
Thank you, Lama.
Other questions about this or other things? There was also a question, I think, about the creation stage and the completion stage practices. Is that so? Is that something that we also need to talk about? Or is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Any questions you have about the reading or your practice before we go on? And I can certainly talk about the meaning of the creation stage and the completion stage in Buddhist meditation. I like this to be conversational, so that we have an opportunity to interact a little bit, and actually, you do have questions that you may have been contemplating. We can kind of discuss them and see what options we have, how to be skillful when we are faced with conflicts or with a variety of challenges. There's no lack of those these days.
Lama, during mantra, I know that each mantra has its own visualization, and that we, the most proper form of mantra is to visualize the deity or to visualize the actual mantra itself. But sometimes I find myself thinking about those that need benefit. When I do mantra, or visualizing, the Buddha as near those that need benefit. Does that fit into our mantra? The different mantras that we do, like Medicine Buddha mantra, Chenrezig. Is that an acceptable way when you're doing mantra to generate compassion during practice?
Absolutely. So I think that brings us to just a discussion about creation stage. There's two distinct phases or aspects of a particular type of meditation practice, that we call deity yoga, or our yidam practices, such as Chenrezig or Amitabha or Medicine Buddha or Green Tara. So this is really prevalent in Tibetan medicine, Tibetan Buddhism in particular. So to talk about the creation stage, is also known as the generation stage. This creation stage or generation stage involves the visualization and cultivation of the deity or a Buddha figure in as great detail as we can. It's hard to visualize sometimes the mantra, which may be circling around the seed syllable in the heart of the deity, or those kinds of things. That's more difficult, and you can just see them as, for example, Medicine Buddha as a lapis lazuli light, and know that the Buddha is there. But visualizing the Buddha in as much, the Medicine Buddha in as much detail as you can would be good. So the practitioners imagine themselves as the deity, visualizing its form, qualities, surroundings in great detail, and having a tanka, a picture of the Buddha, or an image of the Buddha, a rupa statue, those kinds of things to help with your visualization is certainly good. And practitioners imagine themselves, in that way, visualizing its form, qualities, and surroundings in detail. And the purpose of this stage is to generate a deep and vivid experience of identification with the and nature of the deity, which we are. We're not, to a certain degree, we're faking it until we make it. But this visualization is conjured up. Yes, we're creating it, but it is a real manifestation. So by visualizing and merging with the deity, practitioners aim to cultivate compassion and wisdom and other positive qualities associated with that particular deity that is being meditated upon. So the generation stage often involves recitation, of specific mantras. And the word mantra means mind protection. So you can do the mantras with or without the visualization, at other times during the day. But when we're doing the deity practice, we do want to have that creation stage, that generation stage of the deity. So that involves the recitation of the mantras, chants, or prayers associated with that deity, as well as employing various mudras, the hand gestures, and other aspects. So we're using our body in the way of doing the mudras. We use our body for that. We use our speech in chanting the mantra, and we use our mind in the visualization. So we practice these with our body, speech, and mind. So the goal is to transform one's ordinary perception of oneself and the world into a sacred and enlightened reality. We see this as a pure realm and ourselves as Buddhas. And we are more that way than we think, of this ego self. We are that, that is our nature, our Buddha nature. So as we become closer to that realization, this is the purpose, the goal is to transform our ordinary perception of oneself and the world into this sacred and enlightened reality. So that's the first part. It is the creation or generation stage. And then the completion stage or perfection stage. The completion stage that follows the creation stage and involves the practice of an advanced meditation techniques to dissolve the dualistic perception of oneself as separate from the deity or the Buddha figure. And it focuses on the realizations of emptiness. So the ultimate nature of reality. In this stage, the practitioners work with the subtle energy channels, centers within the body, nadis and chakras, respectively. And through various advanced meditation techniques, such as breathing, breath control, pranayama, there are a variety of things with the visualization and concentration. Practitioners aim to purify and transform our ordinary experience into more refined consciousness. And ultimately, the completion stage also involves the practice of subtle body yoga, where the practitioner works with the energy, winds, prana, and the channels to achieve higher states of awareness and realization. So the ultimate aim of the completion stage is to realize the emptiness of oneself and the deity, and we dissolve it into emptiness and attain the state of perfect enlightenment. That is our Buddha nature. That is the aspect of the insight meditation, vipassana. Shamatha is the generation stage where we're imagining, the deity that represents us, and we visualize that as much as completely as we can. We're using our mind in that visualization. That is shamatha. But when we dissolve that visualization into emptiness, along with ourselves, that is the practice of insight meditation, and leads to the understanding and direct a realization of emptiness. So it's important to note that that creation stage and the completion stage are typically part of a comprehensive meditation system, and are often taught within the context of secret mantra, the Vajrayana. So these practices require, guidance and instruction from qualified teachers and empowerments and the like, with teachers and lamas within the specific lineage or tradition of that practice. So any other questions or comments about anything else? Do we need to expand on that, or we got it?
No, that's good for me. I do have one question. When we are doing the music offerings in Medicine Buddha or Green Tara, are we just holding the visualization that we have during those offerings, or is there a separate dedication or a separate visualization that can go along with the music offerings?
Just your music offering, it's and there's a time when you make your offerings, just like we make our argam, padyam, pupe, dupe. This is our our offering, a music offering to the deities. Shabda, music, sound. And when you're doing the mantra, often you're visualizing the mantra as rays of light, or the medicine Buddha, when you're doing it, the medicine bowl and the flower, or the marabella and the particular herb that he holds, and images of the body, and the sounds of the mantra are all dissolving into you as you're repeating that mantra. Then at the end of that, you dissolve everything into emptiness.
So is it, you absorb the deity into you, and then you're inseparable, and then everything dissolves into emptiness?
That's right. Yeah, you dissolve everything into the deity, into you, and into your heart, and the seed syllable from the bottom up, that dissolves and into emptiness. Yeah, so that is a skillful means, to transform this world into a perfect realm, in which it is. But we don't see it that way. We see the things, we see it as imperfect because we're imperfect. We can't see the beauty and perfection of this moment or of this world. And it may seem pretty unperfect, but this is Buddha Shakyamuni's pure land. But and so distorted, and our kleshas have superseded our understanding of emptiness, and that is displayed every day on the news. But that is not the truth. That is an aberration of the truth. Their comments?
I think sometimes, you always, as you practice, you always want to do more. And sometimes the answer is right in front of you to just do more of what you're already doing.
Yes, and not to think that there's just being present in what we're doing is important, and not to think, one of the biggest obstacles is doubt. I'm not doing it wrong, or I'm doing it wrong, and I need to do it this way, or I need to do it that way. You have the proper instruction. Now it is just resting the mind in that, and particularly, in the completion stage, to rest the mind in its natural state. That's Mahamudra. And that is the ultimate state, Mahamudra. To rest the mind in its natural place, without distortion, without overlay, without all of the pushing and pulling, attractions and aversions. We can rest in the natural nature of the mind, which is perfect awareness, free of attachment and aversion. And that's the thing that we need to become familiar with. So we extend our meditation in the absorption of that state. So once we tame our mind with shamatha, and it's workable when we say to we can have our mind stay without running here, there, and the next place. And it can stay for an extended period of time. We want to extend that absorption, that samadhi, for extended periods. So usually, we start, I usually teach shamatha by saying 21 breaths for 21 days, but that is just the tip of the iceberg, of course. Then we let go of the counting. Then we let go of all of the other kind of mental aberrations that we have, and can rest wholeheartedly in vipassana, or insight meditation, where we see with clarity the nature of the mind, the fundamental lucid aspect of our mind, without distortion. But that doesn't happen right away. But it does require time, and it does require perseverance, to sit undistractedly.
Lama, when we're doing the generation stage, we get to the mantra, and then the completion stage. We usually, when we're doing the practice in the center, it's maybe a minute that we're just quietly sitting.
Yep.
If we're doing this at home, should we extend that?
Yes, that would be good. Usually it's a minute because, or we say, or until you have a thought. It's probably less than a minute. So yes, if you can extend that, that would be good.
And I think, Lama, it's not necessarily shamatha either, correct?
When you're resting in emptiness, no, it's not. You've achieved another level of absorption at that point. So you're no longer watching the mind. You have become your Buddha nature, basically, with the clarity of your mind. So that is the thing that we want to extend, and it's really hard to talk about that. What that anything we say about nature of mind is a contrivance. You have to experience it. Any word that we use, then we think we know something about it, and it's a thing. This is not a thing. It is the union of lucidity and emptiness and bliss, and all these things that we talk about in Mahamudra. It has vast aspects to it, but certainly as we become more familiar with resting the mind in its state, then we become absorbed, in that mind, free from attachment and aversion, free from all those clinging, all those 8 worldly desires, all those things that push and pull us so much in our everyday waking life. It does require a certain amount of renunciation, as well as perseverance and dedication, devotion. Devotion is another one of those things that are important on the path. We say how important, doing guru yoga, for example, how important that is to generate that kind of devotion is also an ingredient in the realization of our Buddha nature. It's hard for us, there's so many kleshas that we have to purify. So, that's what these practices are for. That's why we say the foundation, the ordinary foundation, contemplating the 4 thoughts, and the extraordinary special foundations of Nindra are important to help with that purification. But that is the nature of our mind. And, you don't have to do any of that to understand your mind. And in a way, I think Mahamudra is very important for our time, and but not too many people know what that means. So you do have to have instruction, you do have to have teaching, and you do have to practice. But it is attainable, and I think Mahamudra is really the most important thing to train in. For Westerners in particular, Westerners can grok this without a lot of other overlay, just to rest the mind. But it requires a little preliminary practice, the things we were talking about, to prepare the mind for such an event.
Glad you brought up the Guru Yoga, Lama. I've been struggling with that.
Yeah, it may be a struggle, but it's an important part of the path.
It just, by the time I get to the Guru Yoga practice, after going through all the previous three of the preliminaries, and then there's pages and please grant me the blessing of co-emergent wisdom. And I've not heard of a lot of these teachers that we're going through. And I'm trying to hold, during that entire time, holding the lineage above my head while I'm doing this as well. And then when I finally get to the accumulation part, I feel like I've already done my practice. And then just to get through the accumulation part, maybe I'm just severely lazy. I'm just having a really hard time getting through all that.
Keep doing it. There is something to be said for that discipline. And just like working out, we don't like to work out and pump iron, but you don't start with 150 pounds or whatever it is. You have to build up to it. And so we are creating that mental muscle by doing this, but we have to train our mind, and it is very facile, and it doesn't want to be trained sometimes. Use the example of training a puppy. You tell it to stay, and does it stay? Well, maybe, but as soon as that squirrel runs across, it's over.
I have a lot of squirrels.
You have a lot of squirrels, precisely right. But it's doable. You are trainable, but because you feel frustrated, or because it's not because you can't do it, we just haven't achieved that level of stability. Lots of distractions. So any other questions about practice and or what you're reading, either the texts or maybe you're reading other things in addition to the text that you're reading on Tuesday nights, but any other questions that you have?
We have been talking a lot about emptiness towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
It's very. So I looked up Mahamudra in the back of the Dharma Paths book to just get the definition of it, because just to get my mind wrapped around the concept of it. It says Mahamudra is great seal of emptiness, realization of mind as taught by the Kagyu lineage. So Mahamudra is essentially emptiness, the concept of emptiness.
Yes, and that's the major thing. But again, like I was saying, realizing emptiness is easier said than done. We have to overcome our attachment and clinging and the delusions of this inherent existence. But in Buddhism, the concept of emptiness is often referred to as shunyata in Sanskrit, and is the fundamental teaching that emphasizes the absence of an inherent independent existence in all phenomena. It is the central concept in Mahayana Buddhism and particularly in the teachings of the Madhyamaka and the Yogacarya schools. But emptiness does not refer to nothingness, or nihilism. Instead, it points to the interdependent and the relational nature of all things, according to Buddhist philosophy. All phenomena, including physical objects, mental states, and even concepts, lack inherent existence or substantiality. They are said to be empty of inherent or independent existence. Everything. So the idea of emptiness arises from the Buddhist understanding of reality as impermanent and interdependent. It suggests that all phenomena arise and exist due to various causes and conditions, right? And they are devoid of any fixed or permanent essence. Everything is in a constant state of change and interconnectedness. And by realizing this emptiness of phenomenon, practitioners aim to overcome attachment and clinging and the delusion of inherent existence. And this understanding of emptiness can lead to the cessation of suffering and the attainment of liberation or enlightenment. It is key to the goal of realizing the nature of reality. So emptiness is seen as a profound insight into the nature of reality that transcends dualistic and conceptual thinking. That particular definition that you read it'd be hard to make heads or tails of that. It's important to note that emptiness is a concept that can be challenging to fully comprehend and requires deep contemplation and meditation to be realized experientially, which is how it must be realized, and is often taught in conjunction with other Buddhist concepts such as dependent origination and non-self, anatta, and the Four Noble Truths, and the basics of what the Buddha taught. But emptiness is, when we talk about Mahamudra and the Kagyu lineage, that is the quintessential understanding, attachment and clinging, and this inherent existence. That expand with the idea of emptiness a little bit?
Yes, thank you. I think sometimes we use similar or different words for the same thing, and sometimes it can get confusing.
Yes, absolutely. And in different lineages, they say the same thing with even more different words. And so Dzogchen is the same, there's different words, Ati Yoga, but the realization is the same, about this emptiness.
When we were reading in the last section of Excellent at the beginning, we were talking, or Kempo was talking about the idea of phenomena. And I think towards the end of the chapter, he first talked about the Hinayana and Mahayana traditions. And it says here he's recognizing samsara as a trap where we are considered to experience pain and suffering. But then he started talking about the Vajrayana perspective, how we look at Buddhas and Buddha fields or pure lands as pure nature.
Right.
So when we visualize a Buddha and we visualize ourselves as the Buddha as well, that visualization is helping us with our attachment to the self, and kind of are we by doing that we're visualizing ourselves and then letting go of all that, is that part of that landing in the state of emptiness or in Mahamudra?
We dissolve everything into emptiness at the end of all of our Yidam practices. It all dissolves in emptiness, which is the truth of the nature of reality. It's empty of any essential, this inherent existence. Even the Buddhas, that is, it's our delusion of inherent existence. So that by realizing the emptiness of phenomena, practitioners aim to overcome their attachment and clinging to this self and the delusion of this inherent existence that we call self. It is believed that understanding emptiness is what leads to the cessation of suffering and the attainment of liberation or enlightenment. It's a profound insight into the nature of reality. And, we have to transcend the dualistic and conceptual thinking. And that's generally how we think, in dualities. It's the self and other, it's this and that. It's rarely we have all these concepts about things that take us away from the reality. So yes, that is fundamental to the practice, is that dissolution phase, dissolving everything into emptiness at the end of our practice or our deity practice.
Yes,
We always, as well as rainbow-like. They don't have any substance. They don't have a corporeal body. It's like a rainbow or like a hologram. They're just not solid in any way. We don't visualize the deities or ourselves as solid. They are all like holograms or rainbows or non-substantial. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Johnson.
Well, we'll go with what you were saying. This trying to get the visualizations, knowing that they're there and accepting that completely, and yet at the same time knowing that they're not substantial.
Right.
So I kind of joke with myself saying it's Schrodinger's deity.
Well, we talk about Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya. In the Sambhogakaya realm, these they appear, they have form, but they have no substance. They can manifest in a form body. That's two form bodies, Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya. But the Sambhogakaya is form. It has form, but it is insubstantial. And it can have rudiments. We can visualize them in a particular kind of way, but it's like clouds in the sky. Well, it's even, it's more like a hologram. They appear, but they don't really exist substantially.
And Lama, when you say Sambhogakaya realm, are we talking about the realm of the deity?
There are different kaya, there are form bodies, so there's the different form bodies that manifest. We have Nirmanakayas that like Shakyamuni Buddha, who appeared on this earth, and we all saw him, or those who were at that time. He did have a body that could be seen. But when we do Chenrezig practice, for example, he's in the Sambhogakaya, or she. They don't have sex; they're sexless as well. They don't have they have form, like we said, but they don't have corporeal substance like a Nirmanakaya. And then the Dharmakaya is out of which everything arises. It is our Buddha nature. It is the essence of the wisdom that manifests as anything, that it can manifest as anything.
Dharmakaya seems to be the one that's a little bit difficult to wrap my understanding around sometimes, because it seems like it emanates from everything, or everything and anything. Is that correct view?
Everything comes out of the Dharmakaya. Yeah. Dharmakaya is the essence of everything. And that is the essence of emptiness as well. Yeah, it's hard for us, to imagine these Dharmakaya, and because it is all-encompassing, it is beyond elaboration. Anything we say about it again is going to be concept that we have. It's not that. So in Buddhism, Dharmakaya is a term that refers to one of three bodies, as I mentioned, the Trikaya, of a fully awakened being as well, such as the Buddha. And the concept of the Trikaya is particularly prominent in Mahayana Buddhism, but in Vajrayana as well. The term Dharmakaya is derived from Sanskrit, and where Dharma means the teachings of the truth of the Buddhism, and Kaya means body or embodiment, and Dharmakaya is often translated as the body of Dharma, or the truth body, or the absolute body, representing the ultimate nature of a Buddha, and your ultimate nature as well. It's our ultimate nature, which is beyond conceptual understanding. It is considered to be, the unmanifested, unconditioned, and formless aspect of everything, including Buddhahood. The Dharmakaya is said to be free from all limitations and defilements, and is characterized by the qualities of wisdom, compassion, and perfect enlightenment. And so it's a little hard to wrap your head around that.
No, I remember teaching where there was actually the fourth Kaya, which involves all the previous three Kayas being one.
Yeah, that's right.
Shabot Kaya?
It is the combination of all of them. It's just in fact, sometimes you'll I think here five. There's another way that we can look at it, but basically, these the three Kayas are to what we usually talk about. The Svabhavakaya is the fourth, but that is really a combination of the three that we're talking about. And then again, the Dharmakaya is understood as the embodiment of the ultimate truth and the unity of all phenomena. It is the underlying reality that transcends the illusion of individuality and separateness, and it's the essence that pervades all things and is inseparable from the fabric of existence. It contains everything. But, we can't even say that because it's not a container. So while the Dharmakaya cannot be directly perceived or comprehended by ordinary beings, it is believed that the Buddhas manifest in various forms, to guide and benefit sentient beings. And these manifestations are known as the other two bodies of a Buddha. The Sambhogakaya, the body of enjoyment, and the Nirmanakaya is considered the highest aspect of Buddhahood, representing the ultimate goal of liberation and enlightenment, the Dharmakaya. So again, the Dharmakaya emphasizes the transcendence of dualistic thinking and points to the inseparability of the awakened nature from the phenomenal world. It is the profound teaching that invites practitioners to realize their own inherent Buddha nature and the interdependence of all things. That is the essence of the Dharmakaya. So these words do have meaning, and but we think we know something about it if we read the definition. Oh, it's this, but this is so vast and so profound that, but we can't experience it directly. It's our nature. It's our Buddha nature. So we will understand it as we progress along the path. These are profound topics, that we're talking about. But the Buddha taught very specifically ways to realize this. So if we can follow the path, we say that there's two obstacles to the practice, and one is not starting and one is not finishing. We have to finish the path, which we have not done yet. And we have to understand the path to traverse it correctly. And there are a number of things that need to happen in terms of our cultivation of merit and purification and right to teachings and devotion and those kinds of things that are paramount to the practice. It is all there for us. We have the good fortune of having teachers who are here and available to us and can give us the instructions, but no one can do it for us. That's the situation we find ourselves in. So we have to have the motivation, the strong intention, and the right view to journey on this path to its completion. So we continue our practice, we continue our reading, we continue our discussion with each other. So Sangha, we say the three jewels. The Buddha, the guide who gave us such profound teachings, 84,000 different ways. Now we don't have to perfect 84,000 ways of Dharma, but if we can perfect one of them, we can attain the goal. I mean, we are all different. We all have different causes and conditions. There is no one like you in the world, never will be, never has been, never will be. The causes and conditions that brought you together, your parents, genetically, your mind stream from beginningless time, all of these things are have created this mind stream of yours and mine. And so we have this to work with, and it's our good fortune to have the teachings available to us, that the Buddha taught 2,600 years or so ago, and he is the fourth, of 1,002 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. And his teachings will gradually subside and be lost for, it is said, tens of thousands of years before Maitreya comes and teaches again. But we have the opportunity right now to practice. And it's said that Shakyamuni Buddha is one of the only Buddhas, if not the only Buddha, to teach the Vajrayana. So, I mean, you can complete the process through Mahayana, but it takes a long time. That's the thing about the Vajrayana, is the rocket ship to the path of enlightenment. And by doing these things we're talking about, our Vajrayana, practices, our Yidam practices, our Guru Yoga, these kinds of things really do provide the ground for our realization. So we have to understand the ground, we have to understand the practice, the fruition, and we will get there, and we don't want to lose this precious opportunity. So we have the teachings of the Buddha, we have, which is the Dharma, we have the guide, the Buddha who taught, we have the Dharma, the teachings, and our precious Sangha, the teachers who remain and have been dedicated to the practice and share the practice with us. And we can continue to practice in the same way as the students of the Buddha did. We have the same capacity, we have the same instructions to accomplish that. So we just have to have the will to do it. I think I sent something out recently. We just have to want to wake up, That's the crux of the matter. And that we put the priority on that it needs to have, or we can really get lost in so many different attractions and aversions and things that take us away. It's always a question of balance. Spending enough time to cultivate virtue and to avoid wrongdoing and to tame our mind.
It just always seems like it's a full-time job.
Yeah. That's why people go on retreat. You don't want to waste a moment. But many of us have full-time jobs, and but still there is time in the morning, in the evening, on the weekend, whenever you do have some time that you can just practice together or individually, and to get the proper instruction to practice correctly. But no one can do it for you. That's the situation we find ourselves in. But you've entered the path, so you're definitely going to get the result sooner or later. Hopefully it's sooner for the benefit of all sentient beings. But you will definitely, having arrived in this situation, to have turned your mind to the Dharma, to be present here, at this time, bodes well. So don't be discouraged and don't feel like this is beyond you. It is not. You've already have the merit to be born human and to be, enveloped in the Dharma and part of a center that teaches the Dharma. And we have wonderful teachers that are invited to be with us to teach the Dharma. We are so fortunate. We are so fortunate. When we talk about gratitude and being thankful, this is one of the things, if we're going to be thankful for something, this is really something to be thankful for. It's miraculous, actually, that in this world we have come across the Buddhism and teachers who can teach, and a mind that is facile and has the qualities and conditions necessary to bring it to fruition. We are so fortunate. Yeah.
Lama, I think as I get older, my mind is actually getting more and more active. So I find that it's actually becoming more difficult for me in my meditation practices. And I know in the past you've talked a little bit about the white pearl and the black pearl. Could you again go over that?
The white stones and the pebbles, the white. I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of that. What was the last part?
The white pearl and the black pearl. You had talked about like envisioning a white pearl or a black pearl. I think the black pearl was to go down deep. Right.
Yeah, so when we're doing shamatha in particular, there are remedies to certain states of mind And the two main ones that, and there are many different ones, but usually it's torpor over excitement. So, and that is one of the first things you're going to find when you meditate is just how wild our mind is. Your meditation may be better than ever, but you're seeing how wild your mind is. It has always been that way, actually. Probably not any more than usual, but you're aware of it maybe more than usual. But as far as the when we sit, if our mind is overexcited and doing too much, then we imagine a black pearl and a black lotus and a pearl. Inverted lotus, black pearl, that descends, to the center of the earth, or in martial arts, we talk about the dantian, the 0.4 finger west below the navel, or our movement center, the lower chakra. But the energy sinks. We want it to sink because it's rising up. It's causing too many thoughts. So we sink that energy down and ground it. That helps to stop that flow of thoughts, or at least slow it down. And we continue to do that. Continue with your meditation in whatever form it is, but hold that idea and of that black pearl being heavy and sinking your energy down. Now, the other side of that can be torpor and fatigue, so our mind goes dark. So we want to bring it up. So a white lotus at the heart, a white pearl that comes up the central channel to the top of the head and broadcasts a bright light, we say, I often use the example when we're trying to sleep and someone turns on the light, you say, oh, turn off that light, I'm trying to sleep. But in this situation, we do want the light to turn on and we do want to wake up and not stay in that torpor or sleepiness or darkness. So those are the two remedies for torpor and overexcitement. Overexcitement, we want to sink the energy down. Torpor and sleepiness, we want to bring the energy up. But when we're done with that, when we feel like we're back on track again, you let go of that visualization and just return to your breath again. So that is particularly true with the shamatha practice. Yeah.
So it's an inverted black lotus?
Yes.
Okay. And then the white one, the lotus is facing up because it's coming up from you.
That's right. In your heart. Both begin in your heart. And there's a central channel that we talk about. And you imagine, along the spine or central channel, the movement of this pea-sized pearl, kind of a bright, brilliant light coming up and waking you up. You can also open a window, or if you're too hot, sometimes that'll make you a little drowsy. So, you can get up and do a little walking meditation, just taking a few steps mindfully, just changing your posture. Combining walking meditation with sitting practice is very useful. But sinking the energy, we're always using our minds, and they can become overexcited, or we're thinking about some interaction with somebody that we had and how we got upset about it, or, there's so many possibilities. So in order to disengage from all of that mental activity, emotional charge, we sink it down with the black pearl.
Do you think that helps for anger too?
Any negative, anything that takes you away from your practice. But, loving kindness and patience is the best antidote to anger.
Right.
So
yeah.
I would use that one for anger. We definitely want to transmute that particular emotion, which is really devastating to our practice. Anger can really stressing. So we really want to nip that in the bud as soon as we can be. If we feel it arising, we look at it and we can change it. But if it begins to arouse more feelings, and then we're ruminating over it, we're really going down the rabbit hole. So we want to have the sentinel of our awareness well placed. So when these negative emotions, should they arise, in any of their myriad forms, we immediately are aware of them, disengage from them, and return to the breath. That's a part of the practice.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, these are questions, these are real questions that you may have in practice. So, and there are antidotes or there are remedies to these things. And it's important that we apply the remedy for the amount of time necessary, and then we let go of that remedy as well. You can overdo that remedy and doing it longer than you need to. As soon as you've arrived at an equilibrium and equanimity, then you can let go of the antidote. Yeah, it's always good to have questions about your personal practice that you've been ruminating over or unsure of when it comes to shamatha or your other practices. We want to make sure that you are comfortable and confident. As I say, doubt is one of the big obstacles to practice. The book that you've been reading, you're finishing up that book and you're about ready to start another. Is that so?
Correct. I think we literally have maybe 2 pages left of excellent in the beginning, and then we just got the books in for
Essence of Buddhism.
yes yes
Yes.
so where that's going to be our next book for Wednesday nights.
Charles Rinpoche's book, Essence of Buddhism. That's a good one. Well, they're all good, but you've been doing some wonderful books. But this will go right along with that one. Rinpoche's. Yeah.
And then Saturday morning. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I heard Jackie mentioned Dharma paths. Is that a good one for beginners?
That's the one we always recommend. That's really top of the list. That is
Okay.
Khenpo Rinpoche's book for beginners. So that really lays out the path clearly. And so, yes, that's a very good one.
Okay.
I like that it has kind of a vocabulary section in the back too for common terms.
Yeah, always look at the vocabulary in the back, because these are words that you want to become familiar with. You'll see them again and again. So it's important to understand their meaning. So yes, that's a good point. Essence of Buddhism also, I think, has a glossary or in the back, Dharma dictionary. So it's good to you may not do those when you're reading the book, you may not go through those words, but take the time, if you have the book, to go over the glossary or the dictionary in the back. Well, if there are no more questions, we can end here. I think that's all that I needed to say. Is there any other
Thing.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other announcements or anything that need to be made, Mike?
I believe the 7th. So next week we're starting the new book. Our regular first light ceremony is coming up on January 1st. That's our typical ringing of the new year. We'll be having that ceremony here, as well as I'm sure you will, Lama, as well.
You too. We've been doing that for years.
So hopefully that'll be a nice way to bring in our new year.
So First Light is done, around the world. All of our centers at First Light or close to it do the practice. So as the sun comes up, we are practicing around the world. So it's kind of a really powerful event that we're all connected to. Okay, I guess we can stop here, and we'll do a dedication of merit. Always dedicate the merit of your practice, again, for the twofold benefit of all suffering beings and for your own enlightenment. By this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, and may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. May we lead all beings from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and I look forward to seeing you the second Tuesday of next month. If everything goes according to plan.
Thank you, Lama.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yes, have a nice rest of your evening.